left of this Visegrad summit?
Not a lot. It's collapsed in acrimony. It was due to start today. Israel's still trying to put a brave face on it. It says that meetings will still go ahead, that prime ministers from 3 countries are still there, although not the Polish prime minister. And the others will meet individually, Benjamin Netanyahu. Poland, meanwhile, says, well, the Visegrad nations understand Warsaw's stance in pulling out. A quick recap, of course. The row started last week with comments from the Prime Minister, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, on a visit to Warsaw, when he said that many Poles had collaborated with Nazis. Now, the statement was clarified by Israel. It became clear that some had been mistranslated and misreported, that they didn't mean to say that the whole Polish nation was complicit. Even so, it angered Poland. The Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki said, first of all, he was going to pull out, but his delegation would still go. But then came the final straw, and we're going to hear first from these further comments from Israel's Foreign Minister, Israel Katz, who added fuel to the fire yesterday morning. His comments then brought an angry reaction from the Polish Prime Minister as he pulled his country out of the summit altogether.
Poles collaborated with the Nazis, definitely. As former Prime Minister Shamir said, his father was murdered by Poles. He said that from his point of view, they sucked anti-Semitism from their mother's milk. You can't sugarcoat this history.
I made this decision because the statement made by Mr. Katz, the man appointed to be the Israeli Foreign Minister, is totally unacceptable. The words spoken by him are unacceptable not only in diplomacy, but for me they're unacceptable anywhere in public. Poland was the nation that suffered most, along with Jews and the Roma, during World War II.
Well, that just shows how far apart the two countries are at this stage. This summit was meant to bring them closer together. So where does this leave relations between Poland and Israel? Well,
it shows that the Holocaust is still very present. And of course, what's happening in both countries is that they've both got elections this year. Now, for Israel, it's a PR catastrophe for the Netanyahu government. The Prime Minister had hoped to boost his own diplomatic credentials ahead of the elections in April. Why was the V4 happening in Israel in the first place? After all, it's Central and European nations, Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic and Slovakia. Well, the idea was to bring together like-minded nations, because Israel feels that Western countries are more critical of Israel over the Palestinians, for instance. Also, these Central and Eastern European allies had helped block a move to condemn the Trump administration's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. However, critics in Israel said Netanyahu was playing with fire and was ignoring anti-Semitism and revisionism in Central and Eastern Europe. Now, Poland, meanwhile, has its own elections this year, later in the autumn, and its battle over interpretations of Poland's role in World War II has been popular amongst the public domestically, and the polls suggest that the ruling Law and Justice Party is leading at the moment. Its law, of course, means you can be sued if you say that the Polish nation was complicit in the Holocaust. But Poland, of course, has been accused of whitewashing collaboration by many Poles in World War II. Now, all this may boost Poland's domestic standing, or the government's domestic standing, but it had also had diplomatic ambitions to play a greater role for the region on the stage in Europe and in the world. And that, of course, has been severely damaged by all this row.